Evening and welcome from the delights of Barrow. It's Friday night, it's 7 o'clock here, and I arrived in Barrow with Martin Kelk all of about 10 minutes ago. 5 hours, 45 minutes it took us to get up here. Bit of a nightmare drive. There was a traffic jam from Stoke to about north of Preston. So any of you planning to come up tomorrow on the Saturday morning, I would give yourselves plenty of time. Obviously, it's a holiday weekend, lots of traffic. Liverpool fans for the Premier League kick-off at Bournemouth were clogging up the M6 north of Stoke. Plenty of people getting off to go to Blackpool and plenty of people turning off the lake. So not sure what time the buses are leaving in the morning. But if you're coming, making your own way, do give yourselves plenty of time to get here on time. Thanks as always to our official partners, JH Accountants. Lippy Jane was winner of the home shirt we announced on Monday night's show, courtesy of JH Accountants, and also to our other official partners, the Big Shed at the Trent Navigation. What are our thoughts then? Lots of ifs, buts, and maybes floating around at the moment. Barrow tomorrow, and I guess if you're a half full person, you win tomorrow, 4 points from 3 games, won 1, drew 1, lost 1, 2 of those away games. What's the problem? Conversely, you don't win tomorrow, still looking since Elfritten for a first win in any format of public football under new head coach Martin Patterson. And you're probably looking at being in the bottom 6 or 7 of the table if you attach any importance to tables at this start of the season. So what do we think, everyone? Happy, think it's going to come right, or are you secretly getting just that a little bit worried about what could unfold this season? Let's just go onto the message boards and see what people are saying. Pythagorean was first. Evening all, says Martin. Not should give double loyalty points for Wigan and Barrow away within a few days of the same week. So then out there, who did Wigan and who's doing Barrow? It is quite a lot of mileage we're clocking up. Pythagorean, in terms of squad team, he says, do we stick with McDonald instead of Platt tomorrow? Gazali, double points for me, both solo drives too. Murray Biddle, evening Paul, hope you've had a good round of golf. Well, Stowe bottled it in the end, so in the end I've not done the golf today. I wish I had set off at 8 in the morning and come for the golf, given it's taken us 5.5 hours to get here, but never mind. We were checking in at the Premier Inn, which is just at the back for those of you who have been to the So Legal Stadium, or Holker Road, if you prefer the more traditional name. And just at the back of that, it's only 100 yards away, there's a little sort of small retail park, travel lodge, Costa Inn, that sort of thing. So it's ideal to park. And as I was checking in with my friend Martin Kelk, 3 Nuts fans boomed out from behind. They'd been on a trip to the lakes today. They got up early morning, just done the lakes, and we're just checking in to the same hotel. NCFC World says we'll be there on Iris and Melk's coach. We're leaving at 8:30 in the morning. Hope, try not to have too long a stop, guys and girls. I do think it's going to take you a good 5 hours. Ian Haywood, evening all from Benidorm. Pythagorean said, car, I took the car on Tuesday. I'm coming up on the train tomorrow to Barrow. It's about 4.5 hours each way. It's quite a schlep on the train. Gazali, it's a controversial one. Unless Jody Jones is on the wing, I'd drop him. Looked poor Tuesday. He can't be happy. We'll talk about Jody in a minute. Colin Metcalf, I'm a little worried as our transfer window is kind of confusing, drifting in and out of enthusiasm. I'd take a win anyhow we can tomorrow just to get us going. I'll tell you one thought, get some opinions on. Last season, we know we tapered away and it was pretty poor in the 2 games against Wimbledon, but we did finish in the playoffs. We made a change to the head coach, and I think that would have been mostly welcomed by the fan base. Yet you look in these first three games, we have a head coach who's now talking about changing the culture and mentality. We've not yet signed another out-and-out striker, despite knowing Alessandro will be missing for the first 5 games of this season. Should be back for Bromley, not available for Shrewsbury. In the group, we have only 4 starters from last season so far. And the other thing I'd welcome your opinions on is that we've had 4 loan players in that starting 11 last week. This is a club that is looking to, if you like, develop and improve its own players. So 4 of those 11 starting spots at the moment are filled by loanees, and yet we have a professional playing squad of well over 20 players. I mean, what do we think of that dynamic? It just kind of smacks to me as if we've almost gone back to before Route 1, really, having finished 6th, got into the playoffs. And it appears to me a little bit as we've kind of seemed to have lost all momentum, I think, at the moment. That's not to say we don't regain it. We win tomorrow and we go on a good run. But we seem to have lost all momentum in this pre-season and in the opening 3 games. Everyone is talking about new players gelling, waiting for Jatta to come back. But most clubs have signed new players. And it does just appear to me a little bit that I'm not totally sure about whether everything's had that kind of joined up thinking in the summer. Players were signed before Martin Patterson joined. Martin Patterson has made it fairly clear that he wants more pieces on the board to choose from, and he's made that statement again in his interview with Adam Hassel, which I thought was excellent. Asked some proper questions, some searching questions, and it almost seems to me as if, as I said, everything feels a bit clunky at the minute, whether the recruitment ties in with the new head coach, whether the new coach is happy with what he's got. He's clearly not going to be rocking the boat. He's a new appointment. But there just seems a lot of things at the minute that just don't seem to be gelling, don't seem to be working. And I guess it depends if you're on the side of the fence that says, well, that's entirely natural and it will come good, or you're on another side of the fence that says, hey, this could be a bit more serious. Because right now where I am, I'm thinking there is a huge amount riding on Alessandro Jatta coming back next Saturday, hitting the ground running. And it's the Alessandro Jatta coming back that scored 21, 22 goals and was at his most impressive in the first 5 or 6 months of the season. So he needs to come back fit. He needs not to get injured, and he needs to return to the kind of scoring form he was showing for the first 5 to 6 months of last season. And then I think we might be all right. But there's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes in those statements. So what are your views? What are your inner thoughts? Let's get those tonight as we just chew the fat a little bit ahead of the kickoff at Barrow on Saturday. Let's get some more messages from the board. Colin Metcalf. Hi, Colin. I'm a little worried as our transfer window is kind of confusing, drifting in and out of enthusiasm. I mentioned this before, but this will do us as a starter. I take a win anyhow. Joe Crabtree, good luck to Kedwin Scott, who's joined South Shields. Smash it, Kedwin. Yeah, Kedwin's dad is a regular joiner of our show, and I think that's a great move for Kedwin. South Shields have been spending a lot of money in the last few years trying to climb up the football pyramid, a lot of money. I think, if memory serves, Blair Adams, remember him, left back for Notts? He was at South Shields for a little while a few years ago. Not sure whether he's still there, but I think they're kind of pushing the boat out to get up the non-league pyramid, and I think their aim is to get into the National League. NCFC World, do you feel with all the investments we have done, are we on a tighter budget this year, hence all the loans? Gazali, that's a good point. We'll pick that one up. Gazali, identity lost, possession lost, knots lost. Losing mentality is worrying, says Gazali. Joe Crabtree, great shout on Adam Hassel, who is asking some great questions. Murray Biddle, we looked better on Tuesday when we took the wing backs off and brought on the only forward we can play. Last 20, we looked good and could have nicked one. Joe Crabtree, not sure about lack of joined up thinking. I think Roberto Gagliardi, the club's director of football, is working on a premium target, but these things take time. Michael Cheek, question mark, says Joe. Yeah, I will be staggered. Football has a habit of staggering people, Joe, but I would be staggered if we get Michael Cheek. I think you might see Michael Cheek a week on Saturday in a Bromley shirt, but I don't think you'll be seeing him in a Notts shirt, but who knows? Colin Metcalf goes on, in my opinion, our recruitment policy this season has not generated any excitement for me. The selling off of our best players and not a single penny of it spent on our squad. Duncan Comrie, I feel that the behind the scenes stuff, i.e. the nest, stands and hospitality improvements, has put the actual playing staff and recruitment into second place. I'm going to pick up on that next because I think it's a good point. Gazali comes back against the Kings of Housery in Bromley. He's talking about Jatta. They'll be trying to get Jatta sent off, says Gazali. Look, after what happened to Alessandro in that game against Wimbledon, you can bet your bottom dollar all clubs will be saying, wind him up. And I am absolutely certain that Martin Patterson will have already had a word with AJ and has been saying to him, look, you're going to be a marked man now after what happened. You must not rise to it. And let's be honest, if there's one player that we cannot afford to get another suspension, then it's him. Paul Cuthbert, Martin Patterson says again he needs extra pieces. This was the interviews given today, and I was talking about with Adam Hassel. Hang on, let's just pick up some more from Paul as the laptop's playing up a bit here. MP, yeah, said he needs extra pieces. At the same time, his voice and his face seems to indicate he won't get anyone else. Keep finishing 11 from Tuesday to start tomorrow. Paul Cuthbert adds, I'd assigned Michael Cheek 3 years ago. Derek Flowers, not impressed with recruitment. While we have Roberto in charge of recruitment, we'll not get anywhere. Cheap options on average, players on silly contracts. I want to pick up on the investment side of things and just have a slightly different approach to it. Clearly, the revenue from the nest, from the paddle courts, is incremental money for Notts, and Adam Chantry, the commercial manager, and his team, have been tasked with growing commercial revenues for the club, and that's all a tick in the box. That's all, I believe, going very well. But the real big bucks in any football club, people will tell you, is derived from your football income, and I'm talking in this particular instance with cup matches. Grimsby get through, get a plum draw with Manchester United at home in the Carabao Cup. That single game approximately will be worth 350 to 450,000 pounds extra money for Grimsby. Just think about how much, 350 to 450. Now that's based on getting a guaranteed television fee, because that will clearly be one of the plum draws of the round, and that's in excess of £200,000. your TV fee. You then get 40% of your revenue. So whatever Grimsby's capacity, 12,000, they'll probably be charging 30 quid a head, 360 grand, 40% of that is going to be, they're going to clear 100 grand. Then you're looking at hospitality and the whole, if you like, benefit to the community. That money is absolutely huge to Grimsby. And if that's Notts getting a plum draw, and it's overall say, oh, we would have got Stockport, nobody knew. Then for Notts, that uplift would have been even greater. And I do sometimes wonder that when you start to compromise a playing budget or don't quite prioritise football results, you run the risk of minimising your chances of getting these additional football revenues. You know, Notts and Cups have been, quite frankly, we've all been talking about it, a disgrace. We haven't won in the Carabao Cup first round for 10 years. You know, and the last time we did that, we got a great draw against Villa, and 2 years before that, we got a great draw against Liverpool. And you know, back in the day with Ray True, who remembers the Manchester City game coming in when we got a draw and a replay, and that pulled about £300,000 to £400,000 of additional revenue. So, yes, it's vitally important that Notts maximise those revenues from things like the Nest and the paddle, but I don't think you can do it to the detriment of on-field budgets. Yeah, you know, for me, on-field budgets, kind of. I mean, I think I'd be very disappointed if Notts' budget, and nobody knows what it is this year, but I'd be very disappointed if they haven't gone up. You know, our average crowd, 9,300 for Salford, it will guaranteed be one of the top 2 or 3 in this division this season. Therefore, you would not unreasonably expect our budget to be one of the top 3 in this division. That doesn't guarantee success, but I can understand, and I'm frustrated, that Notts decide, having got a really good goalkeeper who plays games, to sell him, you know, and whatever the fee is, we don't know what it is. Not say it was way above their valuation, it was, you know, a great fee. We don't know what that fee is. You know, valuations are subjective, aren't they? We don't know what it is. You know, and I think not renewing the contract of David McGoldrick, I think, sent out the wrong signals, and I think is part of the reason for what I would consider at the moment to be a loss in momentum and not really sending out the right signals. Now, Roberto Gagliardi in his interview the other week said they feel that with the incoming players, they have replaced David McGoldrick. I think Notts could sign 4 players who will cost more than a salary for David McGoldrick, and they still won't replace him. You know, you've got to replace someone that scored 20 goals. You've got to replace someone that can play as a centre forward as well as a 10 or whatever you want to call it. So that's 2 players in one for a start. And I think Martin Patterson has been talking about changing culture and changing mentality, which I think is quite interesting. I guarantee you one player that he would not have had to change the culture and mentality of. That would have been David McGoldrick, because David McGoldrick's a winner. David McGoldrick's operated at the highest level. So, yeah, clearly a win tomorrow, everything suddenly starts to look infinitely better. Awful lot of ifs, buts and maybes. And I'm not really a fan of this. We play great for 20 minutes. If we play like that in the next game, yeah, we'll win. The reality is we played really well for 45 minutes at Newport and didn't win the game because we didn't play as well in the second half. And the reality was that in those opening 45 at Newport, we didn't score. So no matter how well we play, you don't score, you're going to struggle. Salford, I thought they schooled us, if I'm honest with you. I thought they battered us, not to put too fine a point on it. And yes, we finished well, but when you're an away team and you're leading 2-0, the chances are you're going to sit back a little bit more. It's just natural football. And then we talk about Wigan. Wigan were in front of that game and won for 80 minutes. Yeah. So we are chasing the game behind, call it what you will. I thought the first 45 was poor. I thought we finished the game much the better of the 2 teams. We didn't score. And, you know, I'd much rather us play 60, 70 minutes, you know, win 1-0, win 2-1, whatever it is. But for me, there's a lot of straw clutching going on at the minute. I want to see us better, as we all do. I want us to see it get over the finishing line, you know. That's the hardest thing in football in any 90 minutes throughout the season. What else have we got from the flock? Gaza Lee, Derek Flowers, evening from Kay, Kane Arcadian, Moneyball model, looking for diamonds in the rough, but when you find no diamonds, ... Dale Pikett. What's worrying is if you look at the starting 11 from last Saturday, it was full of free agents and loan players, and that tends not to get you promoted. Linda Lou, I'm not doubting the need for a striker like Jatta. Even if we get a striker and get Jatta back, who's to say they will fit into the team quickly? Colin Metcalf, I've paid for my season ticket to watch what's on the pitch, not to play paddle or watch rugby in the nest. If I had to name how I feel at the moment, it would be let down. NCFC World, I'm not too sure. Will Grimsby then average how much they will get from that round? Potentially, can they say they will get X and Y in what we can invest back into the squad before getting that sum? I think the point I'm trying to make, NCFC World, is that there seems to be a huge debate about Knott's Moneyball model, allegedly not paying as much money. Every player has a value, and we keep hearing this talk of sustainability. Look, I might be blunt here, and I might be, not saying the right things. If you want to run a sustainable business, it's very, very simple. You don't buy a football club. Very, very simple. If you want to run a sustainable business, do not buy a football club, because they're not sustainable. They're not sustainable. Outside of an elite level of clubs in the Premier League, fans do not judge the success of their club on a profit and loss sheet. They judge it on success on the pitch. And it's very hard to get success on the cheap. Very, very, very difficult. Look, let's be honest, Notts are not a sustainable football club without Alexander and Christoph Reitz. 15, 16, 17 million, take your pick of the numbers from the annual report since they purchased the club. Now that includes the purchase price of the club. It includes a bad year for COVID. They might get close this year when they publish it to breaking even, but at what cost? But at what cost? Are we a better team? Are we a team that's more likely to finish higher than sixth? Are we a team more likely to get automatic promotion this season? We as a football club are wholly dependent on the brothers having the available funds to subsidise the club, and also that they have the willingness to want to do this. If you look around the East Midlands and look at the other clubs who sadly are all playing a higher level of football than we are. I can't ever remember that in my lifetime. If you look at Lincoln, Clive Nates is the owner that's pumped a lot of money, done very well, established them in League One. Mansfield Town, John Radford, pumped millions and millions of pounds into that, got them into League One. Ben Robinson, until he recently sold, had Burton established in League One. Chesterfield are doing very well at the minute. Now, those clubs are all reliant on their benefactors putting large sums of money in. They're not sustainable. They're not sustainable. So I don't get wound up as such, but for me, I think it's a slight red herring when we talk about making not sustainable. We are reliant on the brothers. They've been brilliant owners. They support the club. But that's only while they've got the available funds to do that and the willingness to do that. Okay, let's get some more thoughts. Nathan Chambers, I think we have some potentially good young players. It's a case of how long will it take for them to gel. Keep the faith, everyone. Reece Strikers, says Pythagorean, we don't possess the deep pockets of owners elsewhere. Disagree, Pythagorean. You and I know each other. The brothers have large family wealth. There's quite what you would say is deep pockets. I get you. We don't have deep pockets of Ryan Reynolds, okay, but this football club are not paupers. We are not paupers. We're not run by a trust where we don't know where the next 10 quid is. The brothers have put in 16 million quid, okay, over since they bought the club in 6 years, right? I don't think that makes them poor people. It makes them generous people. It makes them committed people. Some people might say it makes them mad people, but they do have deep pockets. How they want to run the football club and the model they want to run it on, that's a different debate. Okay. Shane Walker, evening all, late in. I spent 2 years up there. This is a good story. I spent 2 years up there in Barrow, standing by a submarine in build. I really enjoyed my time there. Even got to play on Holker Road against their youth team in 1992. Time flies by. And just to pad that out from Shane, Barrow is, of course, has a very strong defense contract industry here, and it's where they have produced submarines and other, shall we say, high-tech sensitive military equipment. Gaza Lee, Martin Patterson has changed the culture already. We're even more abject than a Maynard team, awaiting King Luke coming back, getting the model going together again. NCFC World, I agree with you, Paul. Not sure what he agrees on, whether it's the diatribe about finance, but anyway, that's my view. No one's right or wrong, but I'll try and talk to you in the best way that I can. And on these Friday night shows, no Stel, he's tucked up in bed, getting ready to head up at the crack of dawn tomorrow. I can perhaps just share a few more, if you like, of my direct views with you. Jordan Harding, evening Jordan, a win and a good performance this weekend, please. Paul Cuthbert actually makes a good point. If Martin Patterson wants to change the culture, does that not go against the beliefs and directives of the brothers? I'm puzzled how the powers that be have not brought strikers in. What are they watching? I think, and it's a good point you raised, Paul. It's kind of what I was trying to allude to in terms of what I kind of see as it being quite clunky this season. Kind of things not necessarily fitting together. Things seem a bit harsh, not gelling. We've done that. We've signed we signed another wing back. We signed another 10, but we've not signed an out striker who can lead the line. And that's not me saying that. That's Martin Patterson saying that when he's talking about need more pieces on the board. And in the interview today, which Adam Hassel, he's not given Martin a hard time, but he's asked direct questions. And some people might say, "Oh, that's a bit rude to ask him directly. What do you expect him to say?" But it's his job as an independent journalist to ask direct questions, and I'm sure they are not easy for Martin to answer. Because if Martin was having a pint with us in the pub, I suspect you might get slightly different answers. He's employed by Notts County as a head coach, and therefore it's a bit like ministers in cabinet. You have to toe the line. So he'll talk about collaborative approach. He'll talk about it. We're in this all together. I would be very surprised if he's not seething that he doesn't have more attacking options. And clearly there's a bit of criticism floating around about Jody Jones. I mean, let's get some thoughts from people now on that. Who would like to see Jody Jones carrying on the role that he's been given, or who would like to see Jody Jones going back out on the left wing, or if you like, you're inverted, that rules me out, on the right wing. But if you're going to move Jody Jones out onto left wing, where I'd like to see him play, don't forget we've got an awful lot of wing backs. So that's another one of your wing backs that are not going to be in the starting lineup if you put Jody Jones out on the left. It's not a reason not to do it, but then it's another one of those of, well, why did we sign that? Why did we do this? Why did we do? This is my point about joined up collective thinking. It all seems just a little bit stop, start. Why did we do that at the moment? And these things all get totally, manifestly exaggerated when we're not winning games of football. You win games of football, do what you want. You don't win, you're under much, much, much higher level of scrutiny. Right, what else have we got? I like the submarine story from Shane. That's good, that. Colin Metcalf, interesting mentioning Lincoln, Paul. Didn't they rise up the league, start with a good cup run the season before we signed Terry Hawkridge off them? Shows the value of winning cup games. If my memory serves, Colin, Lincoln's renaissance, if you like, was down to the Cowley brothers, who I think are exceptional managers. Perhaps not quite, as lethal as they were when they first came through, quite as hungry. Lincoln was their first job. They got Lincoln promoted. But if I recall correctly, which I think is what you're mentioning, Lincoln won the National League, but as a non-league club, they got through to something like the 4th or the 5th round of the FA Cup. And they had a lot of TV games, and didn't they get through to play Arsenal or something? And I can't quite remember. But so again, when people talk about, oh, you can't have a successful league and cup run, Lincoln proved that they can. And it was the Cowleys that really got Lincoln going, got them into League Two, missed out on the playoffs the same year that we did, got them promoted through automatics the following year. And then I think Michael Appleton took over and kept them in League One. But in the background, Clive Nates has been leading quite a substantial investment into Lincoln. Lincoln as a club, as a stadium, as a ground, as a supporter base, does not have necessarily the same levels that Notts do, but they've been able to do it very, very well. And people like Clive have obviously brought investment in that have enabled Lincoln to stabilise in League One. Kenneth Pointer, do you think this could be a relegation season? I'll come on to a minute. Jordan, we aren't favourites to win the league this year, says Jordan. Not sure whether that's something we should be proud of or not, really. But anyway, it's bookies odds. They don't really matter. Gaza Lee, easier to ask if we are aiming for a promotion season. No. Martin H, talking about relegation already. Blimey, 1 loss and 1 draw. Mika, to be fair, the club has been pretty underwhelming for a few years. Jeff Parkin, you're getting into the groove now, aren't you? You're getting into the groove of sending me some info, which is good because I'm sat in my little travel lodge room. Jeff Parkin, I don't think a change of culture means a change of playing style. Rather to be less passive on the pitch and aim to play more aggressively on the front foot. I wouldn't disagree with you, Jeff. I just find it interesting that it is something that Martin has mentioned on many occasions, culture and mentality. The fact he means talking about it means there must be something in his remit, i.e. the football department, that he's not happy with. And he's kind of working really hard to change that. Gaza, Jordan Harding, after Burnley they got Arsenal, says Jordan, referring back to Lincoln's cup run. Steve nicking my line from earlier a week in the blog. Is the wheel going to fall off at Barrow? Yeah, very good. Gaza Lee, even I really don't want to get involved in this one, but I'll probably get more criticisms about any views on the official or now non-official supporters association. But Gazali's brought this up. Even the OSA has, well, I don't agree with that. I mean, there's been a lot of internal politicking, let's call it like that, in terms of the Official Supporters Association and their moniker of official, which was given to them when they were created under the auspices of Aileen True. That title has now been taken off them by the club, and that they are currently, if you like, under investigation by some parent group of supporters association through the Football Supporters Federation. I really don't want to get involved in that, because I know that people themselves kind of take that association more importantly than they do Notts County. You know, we're all supporters of Notts County. You know, please, let's not try and fall out with each other. We have enough problems in a two-club city. When Forest are in the Premier League, we are in League Two, right? Do not become fractious between each other, please. We all need to stick together. NCFC World. Personally, I don't think this formation will get us promoted in this league. We were lucky in the National League with the squad we had back then, which was too good for that league. I'm not sure I'd say it was lucky, that it was good recruitment, you know, and you give the praise when it works, and equally there has to be a critique of when it doesn't. Budgie says, how can we be so disorganized when we have been working together for weeks? As you have said, other teams have new players but are organised. Derek Flowers are not run by the figures on an Excel spreadsheet. Colin Metcalf just weighed in. I do like the look of Dennis. He looks a hell of a player. He needs help up front, I think. I'm not a fan of playing a striker on his own up front. Yeah, and I think, you know, that's another interesting thing. You know, Martin, I think in his interview today, was saying that they were looking at all options. He was experimenting with different things. He wasn't wedded to a set style. He wasn't wedded to the same 11. And I was driving, and Martin Kelk was in the passenger seat. And as he was playing the audio out, there's me shouting at the phone, as you do in these scenarios. Well, play 4-4-2. You know, try that. You know, it seems to be something that he's never ever tried under this ownership model. And I can't believe there's any edict passed down. But you know, again, coaches at, you know, Sunday morning, Mapley United, 3 promotions, 4 years. I still am staggered that we don't vary it up a little bit more. I think Dennis has shown promise. Whether he can play as a sole striker, I'm not sure. You know, which again, you look back at recruitment, you know, when you know Jatta's not going to be here for the first 5 games of this season. Right, and that is 546, so over 10% of your league season. Surely wouldn't you have brought in a striker who can operate as a lone striker? Why wouldn't you? Because that seems to be the model that the club chooses to play, yet we don't appear to have recruited specifically for that, despite knowing back in end of May the problems that we were going to be having with Alessandria. Paul Cuthbert, good point, Budgie. We're not the only team with new players. Salford have a few and look very good to me. We can't keep using that excuse. Pythagorean, if that Portuguese club comes back with euros 750 for Jatta, does he go? I mean, we've got how many days left the transfer? 2 weeks, the transfer deadline. I cannot believe Notts would sanction a sale of Jatta. I cannot believe that they would. I think it would be utter madness. Although, depending who you listen to, every player at this club has their price, and obviously Jatta's valuation, unless he signs a new contract, is going to go down into the final year of his agreement. Jordan Harding said he's not quite Shola Amiobi and John Stead, but he has got 20 goals in his one and only season in English football, Jordan. And I was sceptical, having not seen him, as to where he was being asked to do a job. Could he do it? Because he's never played in English football before. But, you know, he's won me over because he scored 20 goals. And any striker at any level of professional football, League Two, League One, Championship, who scores 20 goals in a season, you have to take your hat off to him, because it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. and he's been operating as a lone striker. Senga Schmidt, conspiracy theories, didn't see Jata training on the video. Is he already in Portugal? I'm not something accepted a 750,000 euro bid. I think not. I did notice Notts reserves played in the week, and that there were several players in that group. I know some of the Notts fans go and watch the games. David Fells goes and watches them. I think I saw Jarvis was on the team sheet. I think I saw Robertson was on the team sheet. No Traore currently, who Martin Patterson said is kind of like struggling to come back from an injury. He's not match fit at the minute. Jordan Harding goes on to add, what about the partnership of Jatta and Dennis? Now, look, hey, I personally think that's worth taking a look at. The reality of the situation at the minute is not in a 4-4-2, it's not. It won't happen. Gazali, years of great striker pairings. McCulloch and Christie, Johnson and Bartlett, Jones and Farrell, Langstaff and Scott, Rogers and Hughes, I'd like to say Rogers and Hammerstein for a minute, Stallard and Alsop. Club Shop needs to sell big numbers of 9 shirts. But I tell you what seems to be in vogue in the modern game, Gaza, a lot in the last 10 years, lots of clubs now, you don't see many clubs that have those striker pairings. Not many now, not many. Duncan Comrie, Rodriguez, Maka, Wootton, Roberts, Bass. Who do we have now who could be poached apart from Jody Jones? Recruitment is starting to fail. I think recruitment's a lot harder in a full-time English professional league compared to the National League. Let's be honest, Notts County Notts County and Wrexham, I should say, were the Manchester Cities and Arsenal of the National League. They had a huge advantage. It's a much more level playing field in the EFL, isn't it? And I think recruitment is undoubtedly a lot harder for Notts. Now they're in a proper league and not, a semi-professional stroke professional league. Jody Jones, what do we think? Who would keep Jody in the current role that he is playing? Who would move him to left wing? Who would move him to right wing? I thought on Tuesday, and I used the word, I was sat with Richard Stanton, so he can back me up. He probably won't, but and I said, Jody looks like a little bit belligerent, a little bit petulant. Didn't quite look really happy and, weight of the world on your shoulders. And it was interesting that Martin Patterson mentioned that himself today in the interview. And he said he'd had a word with Jody, not to get so frustrated. He is a quality attacking player, and he can play anywhere along, if you like, that front line. And I think we would all agree with that. But because Jatta's not here, we're trying to reinvent things. And with Jatta not here, there's very, very little at this moment in time goals in the team. So therefore, you then focus on the next person, don't you? And Jody's high on that list. So let's see what people think. NCFC World says, keep Jody on the left. Ian says, it's August. Can't judge all the new signings yet or how much they will turn out to be worth. Jordan Harding, Jody on any wing. He sold before when he played left, and he left the promotion season, that he actually prefers right. So either or for me. I think he was playing on the right at the time. As any footballer will tell you, you always agree with what the manager is doing with you at the time. All right. You get hooked back in after the interview and you get a bit of a rollicking. So I don't know whether he generally prefers left or right. I guess it's kind of where he is the most effective. And looking at that whole clunkiness of this pre-season, I think back to when he got the record number of assists, tearing it up, operating vast majority of games on the left wing. I'm not quite sure how, possibly because of recruitment, how we've arrived at a situation whereby he's now playing in a position where, I choose my words carefully, certainly most of our fan base don't seem to think he's being effective. He seemed to look to have the weight of the world on him a little bit, I thought, on Tuesday. I don't think it's progression that we've now got to a point where Jody Jones doesn't play in the position where he got a record number of assists for us, and he's playing in a different position. Personally, I don't think that's progression. But hey ho. Derek Flowers. I'd rather Jody Jones playing goal than where he's being played now. Gazali, the only two with big values currently we have recently bought are Jatta and Traore. Can't see us anything and get us anything back on Mia. Certainly needs to play games. He needs to play games. Paul Cuthbert, on the left, Jody, for sure. Why would we not play a player there when he made 23 assists in one season? Makes no sense at all. Thank you, Paul. And you've done your research better than me. I couldn't remember how many it was. I thought it might have been 21, but I knew it was in the low 20s. Jeff Parkin, our best wing pairing may well be Bennett and Jody. Duncan Connery, Jody is more effective in the last third, so either wing or just behind the strikers. Evening from Ian Haywood, a little bit late, but I'm sure you can play catch up with it. Benny Boy 29, welcome Benny Boy 29. Late to the stream, ground 72 and 73 for me this week. Drove Tuesday and on the train tomorrow. You pies. Safe travels, Benny Boy. I think we're starting to come to the end of the show. We've done 45 minutes. I'm going to hop in a shower after a 5.5 hour drive, go down to the Weatherspoons, which any Notts fans that have been to Barrow will know there's the Weatherspoons just down the road from the station where we all congregate. So I'm going to go down there with Mr. Kelk in a moment. Probably have a Ruby in a bit as well, and relax a bit after 5.5 hours. Quite seriously, those of you planning to travel up by road tomorrow, please give yourself plenty of time. It was a nightmare journey this afternoon, and with it being a holiday Saturday tomorrow, I suspect there's going to be a fair bit of traffic on the road. So please, there's nothing, and particularly those of you coming up here, and if it's a new ground for you, you don't want to be dashing in 10 minutes before kickoff and then another 5 hours on the way home. Gazali says, see you all at Holker Road. I'm leaving at 8 a.m. Good boy, Gaza. Thank you, everyone, for listening in and participating in another Friday Night Magpie Live. We will be back. When we'll be back? We'll be back with a vlog. We'll be back with a vlog tomorrow, straight after the game. So anyone wants to come up, have a word with me and appear on the vlog, you will be made most welcome. And then Stel and I will be back on Monday with our usual Monday night show. Wednesday next week, not Tuesday, put back by 24 hours because the cricket are at home. We're home to Shrewsbury on the Wednesday evening, and then the following Saturday we will be at home to Bromley. Thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining me tonight. Have a good evening. Get tucked up early if you're heading off on the coaches or on the cars or on the train tomorrow. Safe travels. Look forward to seeing you all at the So Legal Stadium at Holker Road. Thank you for joining us. Catch you soon. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.